So, welcome, Patricia, to the Support Worker Club. Thank you for joining us. Can you give us just a brief outline of what you do and your profession and everything? Because when I called you, I was very excited to have you on. So, must say thank you so much, and an
That's
absolute pleasure.
good. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. I'm a reflexologist and a nurse foremost. I'm a double EN, and I'm also a support worker and a coordinator of aged care as well. So basically, I have a real passion for people that are elderly, that have disabilities, and people who just want to maintain a better health life.
That's exactly right. And what's the name? Because your business, when I looked up your business name, what's that?
It's Beauty on the Run, and I do a feet and foot run that I used to be when I was in Brisbane, and I used to go right out through Billawheeler, down through Taroom, down through Wandone Miles, back to Brisbane, and look after people's feet, clip their nails, paint them, make sure that they didn't have any problems, corns, ingrown warts, like lots of things, and Tinia had to teach people how to look after their feet, because your feet look after you. They're the most unlooked after piece of the body, and
Yep.
people have very little respect for their feet. We kick things, we walk on them, they carry our weight around, we stand on bits and pieces, we injure them, and we don't really give too much thought to what our feet do.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to talk about today, isn't it? Is because I had a talk with you and I was like, oh, I know a lot of people and a lot of carers that there's a lot of gold that you could give them so they can make sure that their clients that they're looking after have their feet looked after properly. Because, like you say, they carry us around, they look after us. If we're not moving around, then we're staying still, and then we get all those other health problems from being sedentary and sitting down. So, what do you think is like for when you're coming in and you're first seeing a person, and just say you're going to have to give them a shower or something like that? What's the first things you look for with their feet?
Just that there's the skin on the tops of their feet, if their feet's swollen, if they're red around the toenails, how long their nails are, how much grime is under the nails, how much grime is between the toes, because grime between the toes is an indication that your client is not able to bend down and dry and clean between their toes during a shower.
Is that right? So, so that's a good way to tell if they've got a bit of grime and bit of skin in between their toes.
Yes,
Means
yes,
that they don't not able to bend down and do the job
yes.
themselves properly.
Yes, and always look at their feet, because some people have bunions. That is where the extended larger toe at the joint has, like, it's bent and the joint sticks out on the side. And if that's bright red, you know that the shoes could be rubbing the feet as well. And, very cracked skin on the heels, that's something to really be looking for, because that can become infected, which in turn makes the foot very sore, which stops the people's mobility. It's a great big line of indications that can make people sick.
And like that's an amazing list there of things that can go wrong with people. So let's have a look at like each one. So when you said before, if they got red around the actual toenails and around the ends of their toes, what does that mean for people?
Okay, it means that they can be in a lot of pain. And it also means that an infection or a fungal infection is on the feet. And that in turn makes the feet get an infection in it. Ingrown, like an ingrown toenail, but it means that the skin around the toenail has become inflamed. And so the best thing you need to do is to, if your client has got that problem, You also need to express that problem through to your manager, and so that the person can see a doctor.
Yeah. So they need medical help. So if you see
Yes,
redness around the toes, they need medical help.
yes, because the redness on the toes as well can be the beginning of a pressure point or a pressure area, where something is hard and is rubbed onto the toes, or their shoe may not be fitting right and be rubbing the toes. Too many heavy blankets on their bed and pressing down on the tops of their toes could be making a pressure area on their feet.
That's really good to be aware of. So heavy blankets on feet can cause pressure areas.
Yes.
I hope support workers take a note of that. So how can it? So if but you know sometimes your clients, especially winter, want a lot of blankets. How can you manage keeping the blankets like off their feet so they're not as not getting risk of pressure sores there?
Okay, so down the bottom of the bed, instead of tucking the blankets down in under the end of the bed, put a pillow between the bed and the end of the bed and tuck the blankets behind the pillow, but not tightly. Just tuck them over so that you form like a tent over the actual feet.
Oh, I love that idea. That's brilliant. See, only your talent can do that. That's really good to know because like especially winter, don't we? We have a lot of clients. They're cold frogs.
That's
They
right.
want the extra blankets.
That's
That's a
right.
really good tip. So you put the pillow behind their feet, and you wrap a blanket over that to keep their feet up.
That's exactly right. Just so that the blankets are up off the feet and not pulled down tight under the bottom of the bed, so that they pull down tight over the top of the feet. And it allows the circulation, it allows air to flow around, and it stops the pressure from being on the toes.
Oh, righto. That's really good. And you said too, I was listening, you're talking about the cracked feet, the cracked heels and things.
That's
Is there
right.
anything we can do as carers? How do we manage to look after people with cracked feet?
If they've got really cracked feet and they've been and seen a podiatrist, or they've been and seen someone who does their foot care, and those feet have been rubbed so that they're not all like scratchy and sharp, then you can apply things like lanolin and nice creams and things onto the feet to keep that skin really moist and soft and pliable, and keep the feet covered with the non-slip socks.
Oh, non-slip sock. Yeah, that's really important. And what what if it is scaly skin? Can we do anything with the scaly skin?
The scaly skin, when you wash someone in the shower and you use your washer and you wash down over their scaly skin, any loose skin will come off. Then you can, after that you've dried the toes very well and in
Yeah.
between the toes very well, you can apply cream on the people's feet and the legs. But always make sure that you tell your supervisor that there's a problem, that something has occurred, so that you're covered as well for applying cream to the client's legs. And always make sure the client has the cream and supplies you the cream that you use on their legs.
Yeah. Can you, with all those creams, because there is a lot out there, isn't there, on the market? Do we have to watch out for allergies
Yes, you
or
do.
any?
Yes,
You,
you've got to make certain, absolutely certain, that the client has got creams that she's not allergic to, or he's not allergic to. And that is usually given to them by their pharmacist. When they go and speak to their pharmacy
yeah.
about creams and things, the pharmacist will normally tell them what they can and can't have because of their allergies. Normally, the pharmaceutical place where the creams, are dispensed from, which is your pharmacist, they will have a list of your allergies.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So that should be all done before as you come in to do it. That should
Yes,
be all sorted out before you get there.
that's right. So if you come to see a client, you notice they've got a problem with their feet, the first thing you should do is notify your manager so that they can get the person to see a doctor, or the podiatrist, and then any creams that are recommended by the podiatrist, then you can apply them, or by a doctor, you know.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And what if, you know how some creams have medicine in it, like they got medication in the
That's right.
cream? Can we use our bare hands to rub that
No,
onto their skin?
you must always wear gloves when you're touching someone's feet because of the intent of fungal infections. You
Yep.
don't want to get that in your fingers and your fingernails and your skin. So always make sure you wash your hands, apply your gloves, then look at the client's feet,
Yep.
and apply the creams or whatever's recommended for the client's feet and their legs. Then take off their clothes, their gloves, I should say, and
Yep.
wash their hands after they've finished.
So they're always, no, they should never touch their feet without having gloves on
That's
and
right. That
putting
is it.
creams and things.
Yes.
So can they get the fungal infection from their feet onto their hands, onto the
Yes.
carer?
Yes.
Now, that's something big that they need to be aware of,
That is exactly right. Yes.
So
Yes. It can
because
be transferred depending on what it is, but it's always best practice to wear gloves.
best practice, exactly right. And with the creams too, they can get the medicine in their skin through their hands.
That is correct. That is correct. So you shouldn't use any medicated creams on anybody anyway, unless you've got your gloves on. So always make sure you have your gloves.
Gloves, very important. Very good. Now, because you've given so much great information. So what sort of medical problems do people have that would really affect their feet? What sort of?
Sometimes it can be as simple as just a different type of tinea.
Oh,
Yes, it can be an ingrown toenail, which is an infection where the toenail has grown into the skin and caused like a sore and have excrement coming out of it. And so that can be a problem as well. They can have cracks in between their toes because they don't get to dry in between their toes properly, and that forms up grime. And once the grime is taken, they're red and they're cracked. That can be tinea as well. So, you know, there's just lots of fungal type infections and infections that people can have on their feet.
What about things like warts and things like that?
Well, there's things like warts as well, and corns and things, but corns are normally from a pressure area, you know, from pressure being applied to parts and joints, and where bony prominences are. So those prominences push out, and the skin rubs against them, which causes a friction. And so, that then becomes a problem, a pressure area or a corn, or warts are also an infection that can be caught, you know, off your feet. It's not like genital warts, but it's a different type of wart virus that can be caught, and that can be transferred through to the carer as well. So it's best practice to keep your gloves on when you look at people's feet, or when you're in the shower, so that you can clean the person's skin and their feet correctly.
Oh, wow. It's gold information, because I think, you know, as carers, sometimes we get a bit like, oh, we don't need gloves. We can just quickly whip the cream on because we've got to go out, and time pressure and things like that. But if you know that, like, if you touch their feet with your hands, you could run the risk of getting that infection on your hands, but you're eating as well, aren't you? You know,
that's exactly right. And it transfers. A fungal infection can be carried along throughout your body. It can be carried along by touch. It can be carried along by water. It can be carried along in your on the floors. You know, if you go and visit a floor, you know, like a shower in the public.
Oh, yes.
You know, say you're at the beach and you go and you haven't worn your shoes in, you can run the risk of picking up tinea off the floor where somebody else has been in without shoes on. So, it can be there, and
Yep.
you can pick it up. But when you've got a client, you've just always make sure you've got your gloves on. Just check their feet, make sure there's no redness, cracked skin. If there's a problem with the person's feet and they are complaining that they're very painful,
Yep.
then notify your manager and arrange for the client to see a doctor.
Get to see him. And like some of the big things like medical problems like diabetes, can that really affect feet?
Yes, it can. It can, because when you've got diabetes, the vascular supply to your feet can be compromised. And so through not having enough blood circulation, if you get an ingrown toenail and you're a diabetic, that can mean that you may even get a gangrenous toe. So infection in diabetic clients is really bad. So if your client is a diabetic, type 1
Yes.
or type 2, you must notify your manager ASAP that client or their doctor, that client has got infections in their feet.
Yes, because they can lose their toes and
They
things,
can
can't
lose their whole legs through having a toe that the infection goes so bad that it becomes gangrenous.
So they can lose their whole leg from a
That's
toe.
right. Yes.
It doesn't stop.
No. Not unless that person gets treatment for that toe early.
So it's really, really important that as carers, we're really looking out at their feet and making sure they're well, because
Yes.
the end result is they could lose their leg if we're not being observant and checking what
That's
their
right.
skin's like.
That's right. And the other thing is, if you go in and you see a client and they say they've got a sore foot, have a look, because they may have kicked the corner of the door, they may have kicked the chair leg, and they may have something wrong with their foot. There could be a bruise, there could be a fact that they may have broken a toe. And if that happens, they can also have a blood build up, in the bruise, and
Yeah.
you have to watch everything. You've got to watch your feet. As I said, your feet are so important for the rest of your body.
They really, really are important. And it's amazing, like, because we just brush over our feet, don't we? Like, and like as carers, it's what you're highlighting is you're saying we need really look at the feet every day. Do we look every day or once a week, actually? How
No,
long?
watch every day, because today your foot may be absolutely perfect, nothing wrong
Yes.
with it, and you may kick something, you may drop something on it, you could cut it, you could lift the skin up, you could have a pressure area where you didn't really know that you had one because you've been out walking around in shoes down, and the shoe may have been a bit tight. You could overnight you can get a ingrown toenail begin because of whether it's pressure against the toenail or whether it's an infection because of build up grime under the toenails. So you've got to be looking every single day at the foot, both feet.
That is
So
amazing. Yeah. Every day, no fail.
no fail. When you go
Yeah.
in, you say, hello, Mrs. Jones or Mr. Jones, and you say, how are you feeling today? And can I please have a look at your feet?
Yes.
There's
Uh,
nothing wrong with looking at people's feet as soon as you walk in the door.
Yeah, that's really good. So that's good. So what advice would you give to support workers and carers when they're coming in? What advice would you give them to do as so they don't miss things and be able to look at the feet properly? Do you have a system or a way that you check people's feet out so they've got a consistent way of doing it?
Yeah, well, normally when you come in, a lot of times the carer is coming in to do a shower. So
Yeah.
when you undress or help the client undress, make sure that before you go in the water, you've got your gloves on then as well. So then just pick up the foot, observe it, observe the skin that's on the legs and the feet. Give them a shower while they're in the shower. Make sure you clean between their toes. If you notice excess buildup of grime between the toes, if you're not the, if they only shower, say, once or twice a week, which some people, as they get older, they do. And then they say, we'll just have a wash today or whatever. So always make sure when you give them the shower, check out the feet. And I don't mean that you leave the rest of them, but check out the feet as well. Really check them out. Yeah.
Don't just leave them because they're down there.
That's right. And dry them very well. Use a wet wipe or a washer to go between the toes if you have to, and dispose of it. You know, if you notice that there's plenty of grime in the toes, between the toes, then dry them very well. And if you find that the client's toes are curled and you can't seem to get a towel or dry them properly, use a hair dryer on low heat. I'm stressing even cold, just to blow in between the toes as you use your other hand, so that you can feel how warm that area is that's coming out the hairdryer, but you can dry in between the toes, and you can dry the toes without hurting or burning your client.
That is a really top tip. That is a really good tip, the hair dryer, and just getting their toes really dry, because that's really good. That is good.
Yes.
If I was just thinking, when you're talking before about ingrown toenails, do as carers, do you think we should be cutting people's toenails?
No. Because
why not?
Well, one, if you cut an ingrown toenail and you've cut it too low, and you cut the hyponychium underneath the toenail, the transference of the infection is going to go straight to that cut. So it's best to leave the infected toenails until such time as it heals. If they are diabetic and you cut their toenails and you cut the hyponychium and there's no infection, they are sure to get an infection from it. So whatever you do, don't go cutting the nails. Leave that up to the professional people who cut the nails on the clients, because they know what they're doing. Let them cut the toenails, but notify your manager that there is a problem, you know, because the last thing you want to do is give your client an infected foot because you trimmed the nails and cut them wrong.
That is amazing. Yeah, that is very true. So so keep away from nails. And if you notice they're long, so do you report that to your manager?
You've got to report that to the manager, because long nails can actually be a problem for walking for an elderly person, because they can hook those nails into carpet or on mats and fall.
Yes.
So if you notice their nails are long and longer than the ends of their toes, please tell your manager so that they can arrange for a podiatrist appointment and bring it back. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, you've just given us so much great advice today, Patricia. Is there anything that you want the carers to understand that we haven't covered already? Is there any bit of gold? Because you've given us a lot of gold. I feel like I've got a truck full of it, to really make sure their feet are well. Is there any one more thing that you think, make sure you do this as support workers and carers?
Look after your own feet. Make sure your shoes are not too tight. If you're working all day on your feet aren't, you've got to wear a really nice pair of shoes that don't hurt your feet. If you feel like after 5 minutes you've got to sit and put your feet up in the air to get the pressure off your feet, your shoes are wrong.
They're too tight. That is that is probably the best advice of it all, because I see it all too often as nurses and carers. They're limping around because we do a lot of kilometres walking.
Yes.
And we're always on it. We never get to sit down, so we're standing on our feet all the time. And you know, it might cost you an extra few dollars for a great pair of shoes, but you're in them all the time.
That
And your
is
feet
exactly
deserve
right.
it, don't
Yes.
they?
And the one thing you have to look after is your feet. If you haven't got good feet, you can't walk
No.
and you can't run and you become immobile, and then you just can't move around like you used to.
Well, you
So
won't be able to do your job.
you can't do anything really with bad feet. So the best thing to do, look after your feet, look after your clients' feet,
Yep.
and then your life will be a lot better.
A lot better. Wow. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Patricia. That is really good to know. And so, where can people find you if they want to find out more about feet? Where can they come and get you?
Actually, they could send me on an email. They could send me an email if they'd like some information, and I can give them some information. And they can contact me via P for potato, M for Mary, C for cat, H for hat, A for apple, P for potato at bigpond.com. That is PMC Happy or PM Chappy at bigpond.com.
Thank you very much for your time today. That was
That's
absolutely
good.
brilliant. I tell you what, there is so much great information, and I can tell you, support workers will be doing these little tricks for their clients, and then clients are going to go, "Where did you learn that?" And I'm going to go, "We got it from Patricia, and she really helped us out on the Support Worker Club." So I really appreciate it. So thank you
That's
so
all
much for your
good.
time.
Thank you very much for having me this afternoon. Yes.
No worries. And I look forward to doing another talk with you, because I think there's a lot of information there that we didn't even scratch the surface of, I feel. And there's a lot more to go. So I'd love to have you back one day and see what other bits of gold you can give our support workers.
I certainly would like to help.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day, Patricia.
That's okay. See you all later.
Thank
Happy
you. And
caring.
thanks from the Support Worker Club. Bye-bye.
Very good. Bye.